Hello everyone, my name is Madison Hildreth. This is my second year in ISM and I'm doing broadcast journalism again. I absolutely loved it so much, so I decided to try it again and just find something that I really want to focus on and decide between sports, general, and entertainment. But right now I think I'm going to go with sports because my mentor is in that field, so I'll probably end up really liking it. I want to start off by telling you a few stories, and I want you to think if they're true or false. The first one is Miami police shot and killed a man eating another man's face. The second story is a Texas man was found eating a teenage boy in a haunted house. The third one was the winner of the $1.3 billion jackpot died of a cocaine overdose. That jackpot just happened. So you can see these, they all have the little news stories, and I'm not sure which ones you think are true, which ones are false. You can take a minute to look at it because they all seem pretty real to me. But I'll go ahead and tell you. The first one's true, the second one's false, and the third one's false. But I do know the second one and the third one, that was going around on Twitter and on Facebook, and a lot of people hear these things and they think they're true, when in fact they're not. So you can get into a lot of trouble if you're a reporter and you come across this and then you go publish it or do more research and think it's true and report on that. You can get in a ton of trouble and even get fired. But as crazy as these stories sound, they sound really interesting and people want to learn more about it, but you have to distinguish between what's true and what's false. So it's kind of scary the first one's true, but it most definitely is, and it happened about a year ago. About me, my mentor is Lindsay Draper. She's with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a member of National Charity League. I'm a National Honor Society officer, a varsity cheer officer. I'm in student council. I'm in the student climate committee, and I love volunteering, working out, and traveling. And the picture with my friends over there, that was from Hawaii, so I absolutely love traveling, and if I could travel every week, I totally would. And the other picture right there on the teleprompter, that was from an interview last year at Channel 5, and it wasn't on, I just got to go in front of the green screen, so that was really fun, being a pretend meteorologist for a few minutes. And a lot of people ask me, what exactly is broadcast journalism? And I just assumed that a lot of people would know what it is. I thought it was kind of self-explanatory, but in fact there's a lot of people who didn't really know what it entitled and what jobs it included, so I decided to tell you guys a little bit about it. It's just news reporting that can be published either electronically or on the radio, and different fields include photojournalism, sports journalism, investigative journalism, entertainment journalism. You can be a foreign correspondent, you can specify in certain things such as health or something like that and have a beat. Beats are what you specialize in, so there's lots of different subjects. And someone in broadcast journalism can work in front of or behind the camera. A lot of people hear the word broadcast and automatically assume that means you have to be in front of the camera. But there's a lot to do behind it, which is really exciting. You can be a teleprompter operator, which is very, very important. If that goes wrong, everything kind of goes out of whack. You can also be a production assistant. You can be a journalist. You can operate the camera, which is a very, very important job. Also working with the lighting. Or you can be an anchor or reporter. And the difference between those two are reporters travel to different places and they kind of are on the front line of the story, and an anchor just sits at the desk. A reporter is what most people start off doing, and the salary isn't as high, and a lot of times, as great as traveling sounds, you can go to really nasty places, or it might be raining or snowing, so you have this poncho over your head and you're having to report. So not always exactly what you want to be doing, but it's where you have to start in order to be an anchor and work your way up to that. And these are a few videos, or two videos, and one's entertainment and one's sports, but I'm just going to show you the sports one because it's kind of funny, kind of scary for this girl, but it just shows you the crazy things that can happen if you are on the sidelines.
Alabama has a commitment from J.C. Hassenauer out of Minnesota. We got to see him today.
A northerner coming down south, he'll fit right in. I mean, this kid is physical, he's strong. I mean, arguably the top offensive lineman this morning in the one-on-ones. I mean, he's out there with a kid like Cameron Robinson and
yeah, so she kind of got taken out, but it just shows you that crazy things can happen, but you kind of just have to wipe it off and keep going. Entertainment, I'm not going to show that because it's just a girl talking in front of a little backdrop, but nothing too crazy like the one that happened with the sports. But I actually interviewed someone who got a water bucket poured on her head when she was interviewing someone with the Rangers. It didn't mean to go on her, but it did, and it ruined her dress. But anyway, she kind of just shook it off and got up and kept going. And this girl, hopefully she did the same. Might have been a little bit hurt, but you have to keep going. And my quote for this year is, a successful man is one who can lay a firm foundation from the bricks others have thrown at him. And that's by David Brinkley. And this one is so incredibly true, because with anything that you do in life, you're always going to face negativity. There's going to be people that come up to you and they might give you really harsh criticism, but you have to keep going. A lot of people told me that in order to be a reporter, in order to be an anchor, you have to have a big heart and thick skin, because you'll get comments from all different types of viewers that probably won't like you for whatever reason. They may be having a bad day and want to take it out on you, and they might criticize your appearance or whatever else, but you have to keep moving on. And also, if someone's mean to you, it could be a close friend or someone that you really thought would support you, but you have to just not let that get in your way and just keep going in order to achieve what you want to achieve. And the requirements to be a reporter, there's a lot, but mainly you have to really focus on what it is that you're trying to get across. If you're an entertainment reporter, then you always have to be up to date on things going on in the news. If you're a sports reporter, you have to kind of know exactly what's going on in the sports world. So you just inform the public on current news. That's breaking news and daily news. And if you're a local reporter, you'll talk about what's going on locally, or what's going on in your state. And then a national reporter talks about local events and things going on all around the world, nationally and internationally. Also, you have to write articles. You have to be able to write a good story and catch people's attention. And then you have to stay up to date. Everyone I interviewed always said that you have to be up to date on what's going on. And it was really interesting, because I found that a lot of people said that they use Twitter to stay updated. And I thought that was just kind of our generation thing, but they said things come up quickly on Twitter and it's a great resource to use. And so right now on my phone, I'm not exactly a reporter yet, but I like staying up to date on what's going on. So I have the ABC app, the CNN app, and the ESPN app. So I kind of feel like a nerd when I see something that I think is interesting. I click onto it and read about it, which is kind of weird, but I enjoy it. And I went on 8 interviews, because after 5, I couldn't really decide who I wanted to have as my mentor. Didn't really think that I found the person yet, so I continued to go on interviews. I interviewed Neil Beasley, he's with Fox Sports Southwest, and I interviewed people that are with General News and people that are writers, such as Charles Scudder, he's with the Dallas Morning News, and I really liked that. That was a really awesome interview, and he was so informative, and I got to sit in on a meeting and learn about the writing side of this career field, so that was really fun. And Coach Goff was a little bit worried about me, because it was a 2-hour interview and it just kept going on, but I couldn't interrupt him because it was so interesting. But yeah, that was my longest interview by far. And then Emily Jones, like I said, she was the one that got a bucket of ice dumped on her head, and she's with the Rangers. And then my mentor is Lindsay Draper, and I'll talk about her a little bit later. And then some quotes that I took from all of them. They were all so informative, and they had so much information, but these were probably the best things that they shared. And they were all really diverse in the things that they had to tell me, which I really liked. And Neil Beasley, he said the more that you practice, the better you will become. And that's really with anything that you do. It'll quickly become second nature if you continuously do it. And Charles Scudder said, when writing a story, be able to answer the question, why should people be interested in this story? Because if you can't answer that question when you're giving a report, then why even write the story if no one's going to be interested and the viewers won't be able to connect? And Kitiana said, block out negative opinions, and remember, you can't rely on other people to support you. You have to stay positive. And she just happened to go through this with a coworker. I guess someone said something mean to her, someone that she thought was her friend that would always be there for her. It was a person that she worked with, and I guess they kind of turned on her. So it was interesting to see what she had to say the day after it happened. And she said that it really helped to be able to talk about it with me. So it was like an interview for her that I kind of helped her out in a way, I guess she said. So I was really happy that I could do that, because she was able to just talk about it. But I learned a lot from her as well. And then Emily Jones says there's a lot of criticism, but you have to have thick skin. And Kenyatta said, always reach out to find opportunities and never be afraid. And my mentor said, it's important to build early relationships. And that's important in any career field. And then also you have to change things up and tell stories in different ways. And Stephen Becker, he's with KERA. I really like this because I've never heard this one before. But you're going to constantly hear stories. And I know a lot of us can think of a few stories that were continuously in the news, such as Ebola, when that was a big thing. We heard the same story over and over and over again. But when someone else kind of changed it up, we wanted to listen to it. But seeing the same headline and the same exact story, it gets boring after a while. So you have to figure out a way to make it more catchy and interesting. And Ginny Anshondo, she said, if you love what you do, people will naturally gravitate towards you. So if you're really passionate about what you're doing and you really enjoy reporting the news, for example, people will see that and they will want to listen to you and see what you have to say. And my mentor is Lindsay Dropper, and she's so sweet. I really like her. And this is my final interview, so it was my 8th interview. I was kind of nervous going in, not to talk to her, but just I was hoping that she'd be my mentor, and Coach Goff was like, just ask her when you go there, and I was really scared that she wouldn't be able to or she'd be too busy, but thankfully she said yes, and I'm really excited because I absolutely love the Cowboys. They're my favorite team, so this is super awesome. And she's a host and reporter for the Dallas Cowboys. You might have seen her before. Her name was Lindsay Cash before she got married, so if you watch the Cowboys or like to watch their after shows, you've probably seen her. And she graduated from Baylor. She worked as a reporter in Waco, which is market 94 for news reporting. News stations are rated on their market, and the lower down you go, the worse they get. But Dallas is market 5, so that was a big jump for her, and that's really exciting. And she interviews the players. She finds stories and puts them on the air. She's reported on all sports fronts across Texas, including the Big 12, high school sports teams, DFW professional teams. And what's really neat about her is I actually have a lot in common with her, and we realized just how small the world is. So it was interesting to talk to her, but her little brother goes to my best friend's school, which is just crazy, so we know a lot of the same people. And then her boss was actually my dad's fraternity brother, which is funny, but they both went to SMU. And I guess my dad was the president when her boss was the freshman, so small world. And then it was really neat because my dad and my mom went to a thing with Jerry Jones, and they were able to talk about ISN and make the connection. So now Jerry Jones knows about ISN, which is really awesome. Maybe one day he'll decide to be a mentor or something, but he was completely on board with it and was so interested about hearing about what the program's all about. And some research that I've collected over the past 2 years really is that it's important to stay active on social media. That includes blogging or tweeting about things going on. I'm not a news reporter now, so I don't really tweet about news stories, but once I do become a reporter, I'm definitely going to use my Twitter to inform the public about things going on. One of my friends is actually a reporter in Knoxville, Tennessee, and she's constantly talking about the weather and things happening and going on with that. So once I become a reporter, I'm definitely going to be super active on my blog that I start, and then Twitter, or there might be a new social media that I'll have to figure out how to use. And also something that I heard that's really interesting is television is not really the main source of news. And when I heard this, I was a little bit shocked because that's the way I watch most news. I wake up in the morning and watch the news, and right before I go to bed sometimes I'll tune in to see what they have to say, or if I hear about a segment that's interesting, I'll watch a little video about it. But a lot of things are moving more electronical, and they will be on a blog, or you'll get something downloaded to your phone. Everyone wants that instant news, so I have to work on my writing skills if I want to be successful in this field. It's also important to keep a professional attitude because you're always in the public eye. People will recognize you on the street. So if you make a mistake, that's just kind of embarrassing, and you don't want to reflect negatively on your station. For example, Johnny Manziel. He's not looking so good in the media right now. I absolutely love him, so it breaks my heart. I loved watching him play at A&M. That's actually why I went to one of the games to go watch him, because I was a huge fan. But he is reflecting really negatively on the Broncos because of everything that he's doing, and it's just making him look really, really bad because he's making bad choices. I don't want to talk bad about him, but it just shows you that whatever you do, it's going to reflect negatively. And also when you interview someone, you have to, or not the Broncos, the Browns. Yeah, I don't know why I said Browns. Cleveland Browns. But you have to keep a professional attitude, everything. And also when you're interviewing someone, put yourself in their shoes and remember to be their friend. You want to make them feel comfortable. And also it's important to establish trust when you're talking on camera. You want people to be able to trust you. You don't want to go make up a big story like some reporters have actually done, and that just makes you look really bad. And you want to be trustworthy and not tell lies. And it's also important to train yourself. You're not always going to get the proper training when you're working, and this could be in a lot of fields, probably not like a doctor or something, but in some fields you won't get the proper training. So you have to go work and train yourself on how to do certain things. It's also important to not have a biased view on anything, because in your reporting you can get into some really controversial subjects and you can get in a lot of trouble if you pick one side, and that's just not fair. People don't want to listen to other people talk about their own opinion. They want to hear about the stories, not your view on the story. Also, you have to develop stories that everyone can relate to and that everyone can kind of feel linked to. And also, it's important to stay updated. So I talked about this before, watching the news, having things or having apps on your phone that you can get instant updates on things going on, because there's always going to be news happening all over the world, and you just have to make sure to always be updated on things happening. And then my original work, well, my other videos didn't come up, but there's supposed to be 2 other interviews here. Right here is Mr. Macklin. I'm not going to play because the video is kind of long, but another person I interviewed was Mr. Sossaman and then Mr. Schick, and I'm not sure why these videos didn't come up. But anyway, it was really neat interviewing them about 22 Kill, and I'll talk a little bit about what 22 Kill is in a second. But what I did for my original work was I went and came up with interview questions, and I interviewed them because I set up a fundraiser for my final product. And what I'm going to do is raise a bunch of money. Should I stop now? Okay. I'll pause here.
Pause.
Yeah, I don't